theistic scuffles here, and this time around, instead of changing an oil filter and arguing about the perspectives of morality, we are going to do something much cleaner. We're going to change a pool filter, and we're going to talk about the atheist Michael Martin and the principle of inductive regularity. Alright, the first thing you need to do is to remove the cover on your pool. Now what we have here is just an El Cheapo model of a plastic pool from Walmart, and we'll take off the cover, and then we just want to plug the outlet and the inlet for the water so that no more water is rushing into the filter while we're pulling out the old filter and replacing it with a new filter. Alright, now I'm going to be plugging in the gaps, the valves, so that we can stop the inrushing of water. Well, years ago, the atheist Michael Martin and the Christian philosopher and presuppositionalist Greg Bahnsen were in a discussion about the... Actually, I need to screw this cap on first, apparently. This must be the intake part. They were in a discussion about an argument for the existence of God and whether this could be adequately done through what is known as the presuppositional argument for the existence of God. Now, the way that Greg Bahnsen had formulated this was that the nature itself has a certain regularity, a certain order to it, which has traditionally been called the uniformity principle in nature, or the principle of inductive regularity. And now we're going to turn off the power to the air filter to push in the test button. So the presuppositionalist Greg Bahnsen and Michael Martin were involved in this discussion. What was at stake? The existence of God. The primary focus was in order to use induction, in order for induction to take place, and in a broad sense, the entirety of science, of the scientific enterprise, which in a sense rests upon the validity of induction, there needs to be a certain uniformity. This is a very dirty, grimy filter. We're going to replace it with this one. So in order to do this, we'll pour out the old water here too. We don't need that. That'll be kind of an encumbrance. So in order to demonstrate that, or to justify rather, this uniformity principle in nature, we need to have assurance that nature does remain stable, that nature is orderly. And that comes through Greg Bahnsen's argumentation only through a God-ordered world, a God-created universe. Michael Martin, on the other hand, contended that the philosopher of nature and of science does not need to justify the principle of inductive regularity, or the uniformity principle. So I have now replaced this old, very mucky, mossy filter with a new filter from Walmart. And you can get a little bit more of a close-up here. Go ahead and take a look at that. So I've just fitted it down there. There was a little bit of a seating in the bottom. Just fitted it on there. Now I'm going to place one cover on that, and I will screw this covering or cap on top, and then I think that's the correct order, and then the final lid on that should seal the deal here, tighten the whole thing down, and then at this point we can unplug the intake and the outgo or the outtake valves in here. At any rate, so the existence of God in this case is presumed to depend upon an argument for the justifying the uniformity of nature. Michael Martin contends philosophers do not need to justify the uniformity of principle. Greg Bahnsen, on the other hand, contends that you must justify this in order to validly use it, in order to continue to have a reason to use induction and hence to conduct any manner of science. You need to justify that principle. So we have two vastly different perspectives about what it takes to ground the scientific endeavor and the validity of inductive inference. And now we will turn our filter back on. It sounds like it reactivated there. And let's go back and test, make sure there are no leaks in our newly installed pool filter. Sounds like it's hard at work. The water is flowing through both channels, and hopefully more moss and muck is being filtered out in here. At any rate, back to the debate. Who has the most persuasive position in regards to demonstrating the existence of God? Does Michael Martin have the upper hand? Is he right that induction does not necessarily need to be justified? One of the key issues has to do with what's called philosophically past futures and future futures. We have come to depend upon the fact that future futures will resemble past futures. So Greg Bahnsen, in his audio cassette series, Theistic Proof, Rationality, and Fideism, argues that, uses the illustration of stubbing your toe, so that you've become accustomed to knowing that when you stumble and you stub your toe on a sharp object, that you feel pain afterwards. You have a cause, stumbling, poking your toe, stubbing your toe, and the consequence or effect is pain, is the experience of pain. Now, in order for us to know that future experiences of this sort will also produce pain for us, we have to rely on that experience in the past and project it, if you will, onto the future. But what is the basis of this projection? How can we validly project what's happened in the past onto the future? Well, according to Greg Bahnsen, we can't really do so validly unless we have a substantial reason or justification, which in his argumentation is a Christian worldview, a world that has been created and constructed in an orderly fashion so that we can depend upon laws of causation. Again, the counter-argument for Michael Martin is that we do not know for certain, we may not even be able to justify future experiences of pain or other less subjective forms where we see cause and effect in operation, but we simply sense that future futures will resemble past futures without having a strict justification. Alright, that was part one of our video, Pool Filters, Michael Martin, and the Principle of Inductive Regularity. We've just summarized the basic positions. In video number 2, I'd like to dig in a little farther. First, I want to talk about the very privileged opportunity I had to have a brief exchange with atheist Michael Martin over this particular philosophical issue and how whether or not it would prove God's existence. And maybe we can, in future videos, we'll also take a look at some of the other major contributors to this discussion, which would have to include J.L. Mackey's insights on David Hume, critique of David Hume's position on this, as well as Anthony Flew and other philosophers who have made significant contributions over the years. Thank you for watching.